I know I sound like a broken record with this one, and I know that it's going to be a little bit of a controversial take, but I believe that life should be easy for essentially everyone, so to speak. And the big reason why I believe that is because a lot of our problems that we have currently, right now, in the grand scheme of things, a lot of our problems are man made. Well, I don't think we have any actual, I don't want to say natural problems, but I don't think that, like, I've never seen anybody, like, be genuinely afraid of, like, natural disasters and certain things of that nature. It seems like every single issue that we have currently is man made. You know what I mean? And I feel like we should all just not have man made problems. I feel like all of our problems should be from nature, because if we could prevent natural problems, then that should be like a good 80% of our problems gone. The reason why I'm saying this is because I feel like I say, I always say this, I feel like suffering is wildly unnecessary. And the big reason why I feel like suffering is unnecessary is because there's people who are literally born to a life with absolutely no, um, I don't, what's the word for it? It's like, it begins with an A. It's coming. It's like they don't really have like adversity. They don't have any. Like, there's people out there who's literally born and their life has like no pushback. They just get everything that they want to. They do everything that they want to. They just get everything. And it's not. And we're seeing. And the thing is that like life like that is seen as a victory. You know, a life with absolutely no pushback, no adversity, no hassling, no nothing. It's like we see those lives are seen as a victory, whereas it's just ultimately that those people, they just don't go through anything. Because if those people did under get any pushback or get any actually have to like come face to face with whatever consequences that they have for their actions, they would either A, crumble, B, run away, or C, try to put something in front of themselves to make sure that they don't get the full brunt of it. Meanwhile, normal people who suffer a lot kind of just sort of have to get it. So it's like, so the whole thing is that, like, so now the question is, how come they get to have that kind of life and we don't? You know what I'm saying? Like, where's our protection? Where's our you know, like, where's our chance to just sort of like push back against adversity? You see what I'm saying? Because it's like for some people they just have to take it, other people they don't. The way I see it is, in a spirit of true equality, I just feel like everybody shouldn't have problems. I feel like suffering is unnecessary because people who don't suffer seem to just sort of get everything kind of just handed to them, whereas people who do suffer, it seems like their whole life is just pushed towards mostly just suffering, and I'm not cool with that. I'm not cool with that at all. I kind of just sort of would like for there to be like some sort of like some kind of, I don't know, just some sort of fairness there. You know what I mean? Because like I said, all of our problems are man made. Every single issue that we have is man made. Everything is too far away because somebody built the thing that we should be having, and it's like, oh well, for the sake of keeping cars relevant, let's make sure that everything is too far away so that people will have to drive to these places, or like there's like, or I mean, it's like, bro, money. Once upon a time, water and air was free. You didn't have to pay for it. You didn't have to pay for air. You didn't have to pay for water. You didn't have to pay for, like, you could just access it. You know what I'm saying? I also think that value is man made. I think that value is fake. I think that what's the other thing? I think value is fake. I think that worth is fake. Like, these are, and the problem with worth and value is that ultimately those are just rich folks' feelings. So it's like they're basically saying, I feel like you're worth this much, or I feel like you're valued at this much, or I feel like you're valued at this much. And sometimes and sometimes it'd be the most unfair, declarations. It'd be like the most unfair judgments. And because some rich guy is going to think, oh, you're worth this much, or you're valued at this much, then you should be treated such a way. I don't know. Like, so I'm saying, it's like, I really do feel like, like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, right now, the bad stuff that's happening in our lives, it just feels unnecessary. It feels like it doesn't make any sense. We're told that in some fashion, suffering is going to somehow benefit us in the late future. And it's the late future now. You know what I'm saying? The late future is in a week. Know what I'm saying? Like, something, you shouldn't be waiting 50 years for something to benefit you. You know what I'm saying? If somebody's telling you, oh yeah, by the way, this thing is gonna benefit you like crazy when you turn 65. It's like, bro, I'm not guaranteed to live throughout the week. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like we shouldn't be embracing suffering, and we shouldn't be embracing pain, and we shouldn't be embracing like all this terrible stuff because, oh, it's gonna benefit us later. Because there's people out there who still say, oh yeah, by the way, you should enjoy the terrible times that you have right now, because when you get to heaven, it's gonna feel that much better when you get there. It's like, you do realize that you're basically telling me to embrace, you're basically telling me to suffer until I die, right? That's not. I don't want to do that. That's not me. You know what I'm saying? That's my whole thing. Is that, like, I feel like I said, I don't care how. It's like, the one thing I also hate is the fact that the people who push this narrative that you should suffer, and, like, that suffering is beneficial and you're just gonna have to go through the rough times in order to get to the good times. I really do hate the fact that, like, the people who push that kind of narrative are people who don't suffer at all. Like, or rather, or they just don't suffer as much. Or that, like, my least favorite thing is when they say stuff like, oh, actually, what's wrong looking for? My least favorite thing is when people say stuff like, it actually, well, I went through it, and now you got to go through it. That's why. Why should I have to go through what you went through? That doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand that I understand the whole concept of no pain, no gain when it comes to working out, or when it comes to learning things, or when it comes to, like, doing things, but that shouldn't apply. I feel like that shouldn't apply to everything. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't have to suffer and go through, like, a multitude of frustration and pain just to get a home to live in. You shouldn't have to face adversity to have enough money to be able to buy food. You shouldn't have to be suffering and be depressed and find yourself in such a crushing situation just to go to the hospital, just to get yourself checked out, just to see what's going on. Like, and also, we kind of do need to, like, and while I'm ranting about this, I really do feel like we really need to like prioritize healthcare, because there's a lot of people out here diagnosing themselves now because they don't have enough money to actually go to a place of proper healthcare just to. So they're just going on the internet and just saying, you know what, it says I got something similar to this, so I got this. I'm not saying that people shouldn't diagnose themselves, because I feel like no other person should know themselves better than themselves. But, like, but most people are simply doing that because they can't afford to go to the doctor. You know what I mean? It's just, people should, like, that in itself should just be something that everybody should just be able to have the access and the ability to do. You know what I mean? Just simple stuff like that. Like, people shouldn't be suffering for the bare minimum that they have to deal with in life. So I'm talking about, like, shelter, healthcare, food, water, air. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like being able to just get to places, like transportation, stuff like, just basic simple things shouldn't be a challenge to get. Like, not everything in life has to be a challenge. Not everything in life has to be suffering, because we've seen how people live without having to suffer, and they are living pretty well. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if they're living pretty well, if people who don't suffer are, like, doing well for themselves, why should anybody have to suffer? That's just my question. Maybe I'm just ranting, maybe I'm just rambling. I don't know. That's just me, though. That's my take. All right. But that's it. Thanks for listening. Love and peace. We'll talk later.